I don't know whether I am live. Maybe.
There we go. Welcome, Richard, Ells, and by the way, for each and every single one of you here, let me first of all remind you that the premier sponsor is crypto.com, and we are having an enjoyable session today. This is day 2 of the event, and I couldn't be any prouder about to introduce you, Richard Ells, the man behind Electroneum. Now, for some of you guys who may know, Electroneum actually rose about, I think, in about 2017 or 18. During the ICO saga. And if I recall, Richard, you are going to correct me here, Electroneum was coming up with a very ingenious way to allow people to mine as easily as possible using their smartphone devices as well. And whereby, you know what, instead of you having to hold a super fast computer that actually takes, these mega CPUs and things like that, and also are costly, they wanted to introduce a sexy way, an easy way, whereby whether when you sleep or you working or you talking on your phone, you are still mining your coin. And man, Richard, welcome to the show. I would love for you to actually talk to us about how we can certainly empower the next generation with crypto. This is a very fundamental topic because when it comes to crypto, everybody wants to get into it, but 99% of the people are fearing getting into crypto. But yet you and I know that this is the future, and we can surely empower people to be in control of the finances, to have more accessibility into financial products and or instrument, and to lower the barriers of entry for these people. But the question is, how do we do that? But my other question is, how can we ensure trust? Because that's the one element that is completely forgotten, and that seems to be impossible to achieve. But please, you know what? Here's the stage. Go ahead and dazzle the audience as I will be watching you backstage.
Thank you very much, John. Very kind of you. Thank you for the intro. And thank you to Bitcoin Events and Blockchain Africa Conference for inviting me on. Very kind of you also. And Crypto.com, the primary sponsor. Thank you to them as well. So without much further ado, so Electroneum, as John said, we launched in 2017, started building it in 2016. It's a cryptocurrency designed for mass adoption and mass use. So it's got a very simple app that makes it very easy to use and very cheap to send and receive. And that's the critical part. So I won't, I've got 20 odd minutes to talk about empowering a generation. So I won't spend too much time harping on too much about Electroneum specifically or Anytask specifically, but I will cover those things because what we're doing in the real world is critical in our understanding of how crypto fits into the real world and why we know that crypto can empower a generation of people. And we're better to empower those people, I might add, than Africa. So it's got the youngest population in the world. I think it's got nearly 250 million people between 15 and 24 years old. So this is a great place. I don't know how many nations there are, 50 plus nations, is it? It's an incredible mixture of different diverse peoples, but a hugely important place in terms of cryptocurrency. So we started our journey by realizing that Bitcoin was around. I'd watched Ethereum do its ICO in 2014 and then realized how much more you could do with blockchain, how much more you could do with crypto. But if any of you have followed Bitcoin, and I'm a big fan of Bitcoin, I love what it's done to the world. I love the concept, but nobody wants to pay $20 odd to make a transfer. And there are definitely some changes needed in Bitcoin. I'm sure they will be coming. Some of the things that we saw as early adopters of Bitcoin, we saw that the fixed block size of Bitcoin was going to be problematic. And so when we built our own blockchain, we made sure that we had some of the technology that was, coming along. Everybody who watched the mobile phone revolution of the 80s saw people with these giant chunky phones. I have one myself because I'm old enough. So I had this giant chunky phone that I had stuck to my ear and looked ridiculous. And technology has moved on. And of course, in blockchain terms, that happens as well. So there's always this innovation. What's happened is that blockchain has moved along, cryptocurrencies have moved along at a super duper fast pace. And they've left governments scratching their heads. Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I think generally speaking, governments are terrified of cryptocurrency. Don't know why, because anybody who plays around with this stuff realizes that cryptocurrency is eminently more traceable than cash, and yet we're not trying to outlaw cash. Cash works perfectly well and always has done for thousands of years. The idea is you need to be able to transfer value between one person and another. And this is where crypto comes into empowering a generation. We have nations being fairly insular for most of their history. We've started to see a little bit more of connectivity in the world. The internet has made the world a smaller place, and it's made it a better place. This transfer and freedom of information, the ability to move information around between the people, short of the that's fake news, short of that part of the thing. Generally speaking, the fact that the internet has connected people is a good thing. And what crypto does is it gives you that connectedness again. It means that you can move value around the world in largely, certainly if you look at Electroneum and some of the other projects outside of Bitcoin, you can move a very small amount for very, very tiny amounts of money. You can move any amount of Electroneum around the world for less than 1 cent. And the same is true of some other cryptos as well. So enabling that micropayment, if you went to a bank and said, how do I transfer $5 from United Kingdom to Nigeria, or from New York to Senegal, you can't transfer $5 without the cost being significantly more than $5. Whereas you could move $5 worth of crypto for a fraction of a cent. And what that means in real terms is that it enables people on the ground to actually join the global digital economy. So when I talk about the global digital economy, I'll just give you a little bit of insight into what we know about the global digital economy. So when we first got into Electroneum, as John very kindly pointed out, back in 2017, we launched it. And we kind of had this sort of let's build it and they will come approach. We thought, look, if we build the infrastructure of a payment mechanism, then people will immediately start to use it. And we certainly had more real world use probably than most other projects out there. And that was from what he described when we had a sort of a mining type activity. It wasn't actual genuine blockchain mining, I might add, proof of work on your phone. Didn't have too many melted phones, thank goodness. But the concept was that we wanted this wide distribution of Electroneum. And so we managed to get that. We've got more than 4 million users. We had this massive blast out of Electroneum. And certainly people were using it and still are using it, transferring it to and fro. So we kickstarted the system. There are hundreds of thousands of transactions in Electroneum in between each other, more than 100,000 transactions a month, I think. So enormous amount of it moving around. But we then found that it was, again, a closed system. So John talked about trust at the beginning. And cryptocurrency, partly because of governments, but partly because of the nature of it being a new technology. People are fearful of cryptocurrency. And perhaps that's rightly so when you've got such huge volatility in them. And often cryptocurrencies are being touted for sale. So if you are in an emerging market or not in an emerging market, if you're sitting there in London or you are sitting there in Johannesburg, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. But if you are sitting somewhere and you say, okay, how do I get into cryptocurrency? Largely, the answer to that has been buy some. Now, if you're being careful with your money, as everybody should be, you have to think very carefully about anything that you buy. And certainly anybody who talks in cryptocurrency terms and has got one eye on the regulatory environment always says that if you're going to buy anything in cryptocurrency, you have to remember it can go down in value as well as it can go up. As soon as you say these things to people, of course, people are fearful, and rightly so. So they should be. Buying a cryptocurrency is a speculative thing. So then as Electroneum, we said, well, but we don't really want people to be speculating. We want people to be utilizing cryptocurrency to empower them, to make them have a better chance in the world, to have this global empowerment and join the global digital economy. So we went off and we chatted to the likes of Fiverr and Upwork to try and encourage them into this crypto arena. Now, remember, everybody who's here, you're all into crypto. you are early to the party. You are very early in the name of crypto. So you probably don't feel like you are at the moment, but you are. So remember, I was saying about that big clunky phone. Now, I thought that was the coolest thing when I was back there. I had it glued to my head, and I thought, wow, look at this technology. Only when you look back on it, does it become laughable how early that was. That was probably 1988 or something. So if you look back on something, you realize how the early adopters were. And everybody here at this conference, you're early adopters. Now, in terms of that technology, we've got a long way to go. We've got a long way to go in terms of what we can actually do with crypto and how we go with it. But in regulatory environments, it's very difficult to know what to do. So the bigger players, the big corporates, you're only just starting to see them dip a toe in the water. Probably this year, you've seen one or two names start to appear in America with people starting to say about how they're making some holdings in Bitcoin. Now, once again, this is really big companies, big corporates, really mostly talking about how they're speculating in a speculative market. So they're still not jumping in and embracing crypto for what it can be, which is this empowering tool. So what we did as a project is we said, okay, well, we're struggling to get the Upworks and the Fivers of the world to embrace crypto. Let's build one. And it was, let's just do it. The word just didn't really jump into there. It's really quite a hard project to build. But we built a platform called Anytask.com. And if you go and look at it, it's been amazing. It's been a runaway success, dare I say it. So it's been really, really good. We advertise it on the TV in America to bring in buyers. And those buyers can pay with a credit card or debit card. And this is the critical part. The structure has been built of the business in a way that enables people to list on there a digital task. So it doesn't matter where they are in the world. So they can be anywhere in Africa. They can be. We've got an awful lot of sellers in Southeast Asia and Asia. Some in America, some in England. We've got some in Europe. We've got sellers from all over the world. I think it's about 30,000 tasks listed. It's about 17,000 different sellers. So again, it's fairly early in its journey. But it's revolutionary in its journey in that what you get paid out in is Electroneum. But the Electroneum part is the less critical part. The critical part for this conversation is that cryptocurrency is being earned. It isn't being bought speculatively. So you haven't gone into a village somewhere and had to convince somebody that they should part with their fiat money that they've earned doing their job and bought some Bitcoin or bought some other token of some sort. They've actually been given a new opportunity that never existed before to trade some digital skills for some cryptocurrency that has a real world value. So we backed up the real world value of Electroneum all over the world with airtime. So we've hooked it in. You can buy airtime anywhere in the world virtually. Well, I was going to say hundreds of countries, but I'm not sure there are hundreds of countries, but more than 140 countries in the world, maybe 160 countries now. You can buy airtime and data directly with ETN from the app. So that gave ETN a real world value. This is the thing with all cryptocurrency, is where you have those gateways into fiat. As long as there is a gateway into fiat for the cryptocurrency of choice, then earning that cryptocurrency is where I see this empowerment of a generation. And the young people are more entrepreneurial than ever before. The young people of the world, but especially the young people of Africa, monstrously entrepreneurial people. The spirit of entrepreneurship is incredible. And so they see the opportunity of crypto, but they don't necessarily know how to actually get into it. But when you look at the native Anytask will be a showcase for the world to start adopting crypto to then empower themselves. So if you're a corporate in America, and let's look at other things. I mean, with Anytask, there's loads of digital skills. So people using Photoshop, people doing video editing, people being artistic, people doing data entry or data scraping, all sorts of digital skills that you can do on the internet and then sell to someone anywhere in the world. But there are loads and loads of other things that we don't cover on Anytask, and there's a massive market for. So what do we got? So if you look at artificial intelligence, it's one of the giant buzzes of the world. Loads, it's just a massive industry. If anybody who buys equities, buy equities in artificial intelligence, in my opinion. Please don't take it as investment advice. But artificial intelligence is growing massive. And I don't know if you've looked at it, but look, the annotation of data, people adding information to data, humans doing that, is how the artificial intelligence algorithms turn into these amazing things. And that data could be, that annotation could be done by anyone in the world, but currently it's not being done by people in Africa. But why not? They would love to do it, and the American corporates would be able to buy that skill cheaper if somebody just used crypto to pay them out. So the opportunities in crypto are absolutely enormous. Sorry, John, you've jumped back in, and I don't know if you'd like to. Have you jumped in to say something?
I've jumped in to actually help you carry you through with a couple of questions as well. Great conversation so far. I have two questions, but I think they're pretty much the same from different people. And I think it's quite of a, I wouldn't say it's a concern, but it's people who support the Electroneum project since it was launched. But there's one critical question. It's how is Electroneum planning to reach out to this global mass adoption when it is a little harder to acquire the ETN token, for example? And what are your plans to make that really viable for the people out there?
Okay, well, like all projects, I suppose, mass adoption is this phrase that everybody likes to use, and financial inclusion is another overused expression. Sure. We started off by just handing out Electroneum to an awful lot of people through this mining process on the phone. So we got a massive distribution. And if you give something away, it's very easy to get people to use it. If you're given something for free and then have an airtime top up, of course you're going to use it. But that we saw that as that wasn't a way to get sustainable use. So the only way to get sustainable use is to create an ecosystem where you actually have money flow, but it's not money, it's cryptocurrency. So if you can get something like the money flows, when you walk into a shop and you pay them whatever currency it is, so you pay them 50 Rand, and they take that 50 Rand and they might pay out one of their suppliers with that 50 Rand, and then the supplier pays one of his suppliers with the 50 Rand, and then he puts it in the bank. And then the shop goes and they need some change for their till, they go to the bank and they take some change out. This circle goes round and round and round.
Right.
Or the person earns it in their job, and then they get paid it in the bank, and it goes round and round and round. So the same 1 Rand goes round and it goes round and it goes round. The same pound, the same dollar goes round and round the circle. Now, at the moment, there isn't any real cryptocurrency examples of that taking place in a really clear-cut way. There are very few people that earn Bitcoin. There are very few companies that pay out Bitcoin. And the same is true across the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem. Now, Electroneum, we've made pretty big leaps and bounds into that. We have thousands upon thousands of people who are earning or supplementing their living now in Electroneum. And largely they are holding, spending on airtime, doing other things, sending it to exchanges. They're making use of it. Right. At which point, Anytask, when we top up our accounts, we have to take that fiat money that comes in. So people pay on their credit card and debit card to buy tasks. We don't go off and mint ETN. We buy it back off the exchanges. So we buy ETN off the exchanges. It funds people's earnings, and then it goes back in. So we'll be encouraging more and more things like Anytask. Anytask is a showcase for Electroneum, and indeed a showcase for all cryptocurrency use. So by showcasing it, by showing that this works and is embraced and is adopted, we can then go off, and we will be doing so, going off and encouraging other corporates and other entities that have digital experiences to adopt Electroneum. And then we get this ecosystem working.
Got you. I think I'm just going to resume because we only have 1 minute. I'm going to resume exactly what you said here, and I think I like your approach, a little bit different, where so many people actually go on and flock in towards listing their token, but you've chosen perhaps a path that is in parallel to that, without saying that you won't be necessarily listing that, but you've chosen a path whereby you want to encourage that mass adoption by providing real utility based on what people do every single day. So Anytask is about converting our daily tasks into our daily activities into where people buy these activities, and you allowing them to earn behind the scene the ETN tokens, right? And whether they know it or not, I mean, that's your way of actually moving that particular into the ecosystem. And you went into airtime because you know that this is something that people need every single day. And especially in Africa, for example, in third world countries, the phone today, for us to use a phone, for us to use the internet, we need to buy data, we need to buy airtime, and therefore you went in through that route to make that available to people, whether they understand how to buy the token or not. They automatically have it. And in the future, you want to live in a world where people don't realize that to jump on the ecosystem, they have to convert the fiat into digital token. They already have that for them to carry on using it and spreading it throughout the world, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, and of course with crypto, you've got volatility. But if you're earning something, the volatility is far less critical to you than it is if you buy something, because you've earned something new. You've got a new option.
Exactly.
Oh, one last thing I've just got to throw in. We've just gone live on TV advertising in South Africa. Went live yesterday. So on ENCA, big news channel, Sky News, lots of others. So we're in South Africa. We've got advertising in the US. We've also got it in South Africa now. Very exciting. So everybody, keep your eye on Africa. It's going to be an absolute monster growth over the next decade. I'm really sure that we're going to see that.
Richard, thank you very much indeed, and I look forward to engaging.
Thank you very much for your time. Have a lovely day. Thanks, everybody.
Well, guys, we're going to move on to something else whereby education is key. And if you want to be able to be in this particular ecosystem, learning about blockchain technology is fundamental. So please join me on that particular panel or actually stage as I introduce our next speaker.